Rabbi Dov Lipman joins us. He's a member of Knesset, Yesh Atid, been with us before, originally from the United States. And Rabbi Lipman, thank you for joining us. Good Vach, Shavua Tov to you. Good morning to you in Jerusalem, I should say. One to you in Israel.
Thank you so much, and good luck to you and all your listeners.
So last time you were on the program, you were optimistic. You felt that you can resolve the issue in Israel between the Haredim and the government and dealing with the draft issue. It seems like things have deteriorated much more rapidly and much worse. And when you're on, it seems from what we did a program earlier where it seems that there is no room for compromise, that they had the big rally last week in Israel and you had hundreds of thousands of people showing up, and now it's even worse where if you had people go to Nachal Haredi, they're discouraging any Haredi from being any part of the army. So what's going on? Is there any room for working things out?
The law itself is already the compromise, and the rally last week, it wasn't a demonstration, it wasn't a protest, they called it a prayer rally, a prayer gathering. It was something which the Rabbanim felt they had to do, but anybody who you speak to quietly behind closed doors, this law is actually very pro-Haredi. It's a law which has goals that are completely reasonable and will be met by the Haredi community. It's a law which... Well,
what does the law say exactly?
The law says as follows. The first thing the law says, which people aren't talking about enough in terms of the significance on the Haredi community, right now, anybody who's within draft age in the Haredi world is not, if they don't serve, they're not allowed to go to work. So you have tens of thousands of people who are not allowed to go to work and support their families legally, even if they want to. The law says everybody 22 and over, because of the fact that they were brought up in this culture, it's not the Haredi fault, it's also the secular side's fault that this situation developed. They are allowed to go to work without serving. They're allowed to leave if they want to, the yeshiva.
But are they going to be prosecuted if they don't serve? Because that's what the law is.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
There are no criminal charges?
No, let me just explain. The law is passing on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. At that moment, a letter is going to go out to 30,000 young men. 30,000 young men who right now, until now, legally could not go to work. And the letter is going to say, you are free to go to work without serving. Go support your families with dignity. You talk about something pro-Haredi, helping people leave the cycle of poverty, and the government has hundreds of millions of shekel set aside to help train them to learn a job, and now I've been working for almost a year now with companies. Thousands of jobs will be opened and announced. We're announcing tomorrow, geared towards Haredim, so people can support their families with dignity. That's point number one, which it says in the law. And any single Haredi that I speak to, including Rabbanim, they are very happy about it. This is very pro. The next step is that over the next few years, there are goals per year with how many Haredim have to serve in the Army and National Service. So, for example, for this year, it's 2,000 in the Army, I believe, and 1,500 in National Service. And it keeps moving up each year, very much within the range of guys who are in yeshiva, who we know after a few years. Let's remember that the exemption from the Army is all I want to do day and night is learn Torah. Torah to umnato. It's not, it's nice to be in yeshiva. This is my only pursuit. And we know that's not a bad thing, that out of the 55,000 guys that are in the yeshivas and kollels, there are at least 5,000, at least 10,000, who after a few years, they're ready to go out and start doing other things together with continuing to learn and being in Ben Torah. That's what the law says. There are goals. The goals, by the way, were reached out by the Army, first of all, based on their needs, and also in our discussions with Rosh Yeshiva in terms of who's actually not learning. Very, very attainable goals. If, by 2017, that's a very big if, the goals are not achieved, meaning the yeshivas have not sent the boys who aren't really learning, then at that point, the regular draft law that applies to the rest of the country applies to the Haredi community as well, with the exception of 1,800 elite scholars, Iluyim, per year. But there's no reason for us to even get to that point, because the law was built to understand that there's a process and there's reasonable goals every single year for the Haredi community to meet. And I can tell you those goals are going to be met.
So let me ask you a question. If it's so good, why is there so up in arms where every single Haredi Gadol leader is so opposed to working with the Army? You have a big demonstration taking place later today in New York also with the same goals and objectives in mind. If this is what is there, so what's going on here? Is there a disconnect? Are people not communicating? You seem like both groups are talking different languages. From what I'm hearing, one thing from you, one thing from the Haredi groups.
Well, I'm going to say something now which might sound controversial and might be difficult for people's ears to hear, but I'm going to say it anyway. What happens when all of a sudden the doors to go open up and work are opened to these guys, and 10,000 or 15,000 leave? What does that mean in terms of the yeshivas, and they get paid money from the government based on numbers of guys that they have? What does that mean? And unfortunately, what does that mean in terms of the Haredi political parties and their power base, which has always been just getting money for yeshivas and kollel? And that's what people have to take a step back and ask themselves. And what I'm saying to you right now in terms of what the law says, anybody can check the law. This is not in any way, I can't lie about what it says in the law. It's a law. The law is on the Knesset website. I believe you can probably get a hold of it. It's there. The law exists. I'm not saying anything other than it's a shake-up to the Haredi community. Change is difficult. A culture change is difficult. And that I actually spoke to a few boys. They walked by the Knesset the day of the rally, and they said some not nice things to me, and I asked them, what does it say in the law? And they said, the day after the law passes, the police come to our house and kidnap us from our parents. 18 and 19-year-old boys is what they think the law says. So what's going to happen is, though, Zev, and to all the listeners, after the law passes, people will realize that's not happening. Wait a minute, I thought you were coming to grab us. No one's grabbing anybody from yeshiva. Wait a minute, I'm getting a letter saying that I'm allowed to go to work. This is the exact opposite of what we thought in terms of the catastrophe of this law. And little by little, the goals will be met. Little by little, guys will start going to work. Little by little, the Haredi community will be part of broader Israeli
So here's an
society.
email question coming into you. And I hear what you're saying, but it seems like there's still a disconnect. Here's what a listener is writing to me. Earlier this evening, I had an interview with Rabbi Yitzchak Frankfurt of Almi Magazine, who expressed the uncompromising view of many and threatened that they would pick up en masse and move the yeshivas to other countries. Does your guest feel that these threats are serious, and if so, will be so bad, in fact, they would leave?
I don't know exactly what he's talking about. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to leave. The law is very clear. People are going to come to work. Like I said before, there's an issue of control, there's an issue of power, and that's certainly playing a role here.
Have you or anybody reached out to Haredi leadership to tell them this? Because as I asked you last time, you're saying something which sounds completely different, and they're up in arms, and people are upset and tearing their hairs out, and it's creating a division in the Jewish people. And you're saying one thing, and they're saying that you're looking to uproot Judaism, you're looking to uproot the Haredi lifestyle, you're looking to take away the Torah values that are dear to them, and it seems like both of you are talking different languages. I'm sorry for being redundant.
There are Rabbanim and Rosh Yeshiva who met with Yaakov Perry when the Perry Commission first drew the law. They're very much aware, as far as I know, what it says. And again, there's a nuance here of a prayer rally versus a massive demonstration and showing, more anger. There's a very big difference between the two. And by the way, the tefillas can be that when the guys go and work, when the guys start going and serving, that halavai, they should continue being as religious and continue learning Torah, something which we know is definitely possible and that is being done on a daily basis already. And that's something which, again, that could be part of the tefillah, being mechazek them, but it was a deliberate decision that it's not going to be a demonstration. It's not what's called a hafkana, but they call it an atzeres, and that's something which is very important. I just hope that everybody who goes to Manhattan today understands exactly what the law says. You're demonstrating against a law which is allowing 22-year-olds and up, 30,000 guys, to go out and go to work. The people who come and collect money to be able to make a living from you. They come to your country, to your cities, to your doors. We're now saying, go and work, I'm going to help you get a job. That's what you're demonstrating against when you demonstrate today in Manhattan. You're demonstrating against a law which doesn't say, if we were anti-religious, if we wanted to destroy Torah, we would make a law which says that every 18-year-old must serve like everybody else. We're not saying that. It's saying that there are goals, the goals are reasonable, they're reasonable within the number of boys who aren't really learning day and night, and that's what you're demonstrating against.
Now, as we break, just clarify again, what are the criminal components of the law, even in 2017?
It doesn't say anything in the law about Haredim being criminals or about Haredim going to jail. What it says in the law is that if by 2017 the goals aren't being met, meaning the Haredi community has made a decision, we're not having boys go to the army, which, by the way, I want to emphasize.
Which is 2,000 per year is what you're saying, 2,000 per year.
Yeah, but again, I want to emphasize it's not going to happen. We already know that from the inside. But anyway, if that happens, then the regular draft law applies to the Haredi community, it applies to everybody else.
So if nobody complies, if the 2,000 doesn't go, then every single Haredi young man is eligible for the draft or will be conscripted to the draft.
With the exception of close to 2,000, right, who will be learning as their service. Correct. That's all it says. Now, the same way for somebody secular, the ramification of not serving is that you're deemed a criminal. The same thing to the religious Zionists, the same thing to Haredi. We're one nation. You can't have a law which has different... basically, if we would have done what was asked of us, which was make it economic, make it some kind of economic sanctions, the day after that law passes, there's going to be a lawsuit to the Supreme Court by, I can name you the groups, and the Supreme Court's going to say there's no equality here. You can't have one group that has economic sanctions and one group that has criminal sanctions. And then they'll tell us in the Knesset, either make a law that has everyone with economic sanctions or make a law which has everyone with criminal sanctions. And that's exactly why we're putting it in now, so that the law will actually pass the test of the Supreme Court. It's a law which creates that equality only if we get to a point where they're not meeting the goals. And like I said before, the goals are absolutely going to be met.
Rabbi Dov Lipman, our special guest, Israel member of Knesset, originally from the United States with Yesh Atid, and we're looking at how the draft law for Haredim could be workable, and he's saying that it can be. We'll take your calls when we come back. Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner, and with us for a little while longer, Rabbi Dov Lipman. He's a member of Knesset. We're going to take some of your phone calls, 212-769-1925. Your emails, zev@talklinecommunications.com. Nelson from Flatbush writes, Rabbi Lipman, thanks for the great show. The fact that the law allows them to work and not serve in the Army clearly indicates that they aren't needed in the Army. Why does the Israeli government care if they are working or in the base measures? This fact makes it clear that the law is an attempt to end real limud haTorah. Nelson from Flatbush.
Again, if we wanted to end limud haTorah, we would not say that everybody can learn for a few years before they start serving. It wouldn't say that there's limited goals of a very small percentage that have to serve, but we would make it much higher numbers that have to serve. But the reason why we said everybody 22 and over at this point can go to the work is because to bring them into the Army at that age is difficult for them. A lot of them are married by that point, if not most. Difficult for the Army in terms of cost, and it doesn't make any sense for those to have to start serving now. And like I said, go work. You've been brought up in the system. It's not your fault. Go support your family. But then the younger ages, as they come up through the system, they'll know that there are these options available. And by the way, I want to emphasize, serving in the Army can mean Nachal Haredi, which is 3 minyanim a day, learning at least once a day, unit which is only Haredi. They're, by the way, unbelievable soldiers. A number of them just won awards. They're opening up a new battalion of Nachal Haredi. There's also the option of Shachar Kahol, which is in the Air Force, where they learn computer engineering, they learn electronics, they serve in the Air Force in that capacity, and then when they finish, they leave, and they actually have a trade. They've been trained to do something for a profession. So we're not talking about taking these young men and putting them into secular units, and I have to emphasize the national service option, and people aren't talking about that enough. National service, including Magen David Adom, including Zaka, including 100 guys per year in Chabad, that their service overseas to help Israelis is considered to be their national service in Israel, serving in the police, serving in the fire department, volunteering in the hospitals, volunteering in nursing homes. This is what we're talking about. And again, it's very important to see the whole picture before people demonstrate and state that somehow all of Torah is being destroyed. But
listen, these leaders are very intelligent, very smart, very sophisticated. So if they did this as gathering or demonstration, call what you like, it seems that they don't understand what you're saying, or they don't believe you, or there's, like I said, there's something here that's missing from this picture.
I can tell you, at least the person, or one of the rabbis who I met with, who actually was in my living room and said, dining room, I'm sorry, I want to be very precise, and said to me, keep going, you're saving our community from ourselves, you have to keep doing this. He told me, by the way, there's also going to have to be some kind of a demonstration of some kind. He said, that's just the way, that we're going to have to do something because the community is not going to be able to understand it otherwise if we don't do something. So that's why they called it a prayer rally, where it wasn't, like I said before, a haskana, it wasn't a massive demonstration. There were no speeches. If we were destroying Torah and destroying Judaism, you don't think every single Rav would get up and cry about it? They did something very interesting, a very interesting decision, and I applaud the approach. In terms of it being tefillah, no one got up and gave speeches, no one rallied up the crowd into a frenzy, no one got angry. That in and of itself should say that the law is a compromise. And I want to say one more thing. The secular community in Israel is furious with the law. The secular community is furious with the law because they say, we're not demanding that all the boys serve. And we knew going in that we had a compromise. We said it from the beginning. It's right down the middle. And if the secular community is upset and the Haredi community feels that they have to daven about it and cry out about it, it seems like we found the right middle ground.
Here's another email question. This plan sounds more than equitable. If the yeshivas are not accepted, the regular draft law should apply. I just don't know why you need 3 years to comply.
Basically, Yair Lapid said this to me straight. He said, you cannot go to the Haredi community, who for 65 years have been given a certain way of life by the secular community. He puts it on his shoulders as someone secular, and then say, overnight we're demanding that you change. He said it's not fair. It's not fair to the Haredim. I want everyone just to hear what I just said. Yair Lapid said it's not fair to the Haredim.
But he's perceived as being anti-Haredi. Right? That's
why I'm saying that's why I'm saying what I'm saying.
But is he, in your opinion, is he anti-Haredi?
Not at all, and I challenge everyone to find even one quote from Yair Lapid, where he said something anti-Haredi or anti-the Haredim. He's had some harsh words with some of their political leaders, that's for sure, but even when he did that, he never said one thing in terms of Torah. He said just the opposite. Tomorrow, we're going to have a gathering in the Knesset. We're going to be talking about Haredim going to work, and he's going to talk about how amazing the Haredi mind is because they've been learning. Because they've been learning, they're trained to think they're great workers, and it's going to be a call to secular Israel to hire them when they come for jobs. There's not one quote that you will find.
Because here's what Nissen writes. Why does Yair Lapid... He wrote Yamach Shema, and I'm going to, which is wrong. Why does Yair Lapid want to help from Jews? Since when does he like us? And we tell him it's not good for us. Why is he fighting if he wants our good? So
Yair Lapid is a deep-feeling Jew. He believes in God. He believes in divine providence. He's secular. And we have a different way of lifestyle because of that. But he is nothing against Haredim on any level. By the way, this actually came out. There were these supposed death threats against him of Haredim, and he was interviewed, and they asked him, are you scared? And Yair said, Haredim aren't like that. Haredim wouldn't do that. Haredim aren't violent. Haredim are value-centered people. That's what he said on national TV in Israel. So the person who wrote Yamach Shemo really should do a little bit of a...
Yeah, I read it, but it's wrong for calling Yamach Shemo.
No, that's okay. But why? But I want people who are speaking like that. I know you're intelligent people. I know you're thinking people. Why are you saying that? What has the man said to indicate that he somehow hates Haredim? He doesn't, and this is a very important point as well that I always want to emphasize. I would not be part of it. I would not be part of it if that was the case.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. The clock's ticking. We're moving the clock tonight. I want to thank you, Rabbi Dov Lipman, for being with. We look forward to have you back and more expand. We'll take more phone calls, more emails. We appreciate you being on with us and clarifying how hopefully that peace will reign. Especially important. We have to gather all the wisdom.
And my pleasure. Just one suggestion to people who are going to the prayer rally in Manhattan. When you pray for everything that we're doing here that seems to be wrong, maybe put in the prayer for the soldiers also who are defending everyone who is here. That was something which was lacking last week. Show that you're part of Am Yisrael. Show that we're one nation. Show that even if you choose to learn Torah as your service to Am Yisrael, that you appreciate the soldiers. And that would be the greatest Kiddush Hashem. If in Manhattan today somebody gets up on a microphone and says, here is a prayer now for the Israeli soldiers who protected the guys last week when they demonstrated, who are protecting them now when they're learning, and that will show that we're one nation and not a divided nation.
Rabbi Dov Lipman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.